Now, you may have heard about this story in the news already. I even reported it myself in the past. A Jewish family has just been reunited after the discovery of a pendant in a concentration camp, a pendant that was identical to Anne Frank's. Well, it turns out this story impacted me in a much more personal way than I was ever even prepared for. So check out one of the craziest journeys of my life. What if you got a call one day saying that you may be related to Anne Frank? Oh, and by the way, you have an entire family that you never even knew existed. Sounds crazy, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me, and this is how it started.
The pendant belonged to a girl called Caroline Cohn.
Carolina Cohen, שנולדה בתאריך הזה בפרנקפורט.
There's a young Jewish girl named Caroline Cohn. Carolyn Cohn, who was born on the date and in the city.
On January 15th, a series of stories broke out across international news. A pendant had been found in the Sobibor concentration camp. It turns out it was identical to Anne Frank's pendant. That pendant belonged to a little girl named Carolina Cohen. Carolina was from Frankfurt, Germany, just like my grandfather and his family. My grandpa, Martin M. Katz, had always talked proudly about his Frankfurt, German roots, but just 3 days before this story broke, he passed away. Fast forward now to January 16th, I had to fly back to Israel from the United States where I had just been by my grandfather's side. I'm a total mess. So the next day I get back to the news studio where I'm just convinced that going back to work is going to help me take my mind off of everything. And lo and behold, I end up covering this story about Anne Frank. There's been a stunning find of a pendant historians believe may have once belonged to a Holocaust victim related to the famed Anne Frank. Hi, Chaim. Carolina Cohen is my grandfather's cousin then.
So Carolina's father, Richard, was first cousin of Max Katz.
No. That's Chaim Motzen. He saw the story on the news and decided to use his incredible research skills to trace Carolina Cohen's family. And it turns out Carolina Cohen's grandma was my great-great-great-grandfather's sister.
27 relatives from around the world are flying in to come to the event.
So this is why I am now speaking to you from Frankfurt, Germany, where I'm about to meet dozens of long-lost family members that I had no idea ever existed.
So we're cousins through the mother.
That's Cynthia and that's Jackie Bruckman. We're
Third cousins, twice removed.
You lived in the same neighborhood as me in Brooklyn from what years?
We may have been sitting next to each other in the same cafe.
And that's my cousin Sonia Kunkel.
We're very happy for our children, and you've got to meet them.
No, I have to meet them.
They're your cousins, yeah.
And they're my age too,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
And this cousin of mine, Krista Nelson, might have been the most thrown off by this entire story. Did you know that you had a Jewish background before this?
Absolutely not, until I received a phone call from Chaim in April.
And that's my grandpa's third cousin, Ernie Heinemann.
Welcome to our home.
Our home.
Ernie was born.
He's a Holocaust survivor. He was born in Germany, but he had to escape from the Nazis when he was just a toddler. We're having our morning coffee before we go out.
We're going to Weinheim to Hauptstrasse to see the place where Dad was born and where the family lived for many generations until they were forced to sell the house during the war.
You know, for me, losing my grandfather this year was very tough. So I'm excited to meet Opa.
Yeah. My new granddaughter.
Exactly.
Our grandfather's upholstery store business, and my father used to work with him.
And this would have been your store. This is where you would have grown up.
Well, I
if the
don't know
circumstances would have been different.
Much different. We were very lucky in a sense that we survived because we had a lot of incidents where we wouldn't be here. We would be with Carolina right now. And this is a great honor having all these new cousins and new friends I have here and these extraordinary people researching our lives.
The pendant that we find it very close to the cut in her barrack and undressing barrack.
At just 14 years old, Carolina was stripped and shaven. and then sent to the Sobibor gas chambers, murdered along with her entire family.
Probably the pendant of Carolina Cohen fell between the two beams of the wood of the floor of this barrack.
This is the location of the last home that Carolina Cohen and her family voluntarily lived in.
Was it an accident or an act of defiance? I like to think, or should I say we like to think, that Carolina took back control in her final moments of life. Her pendant left behind to reunite her family.
Say family. Family! Woo! Well, just so you all know, in the end, archaeologists don't really believe that our family is related to Anne Frank. It turns out 8 pendants have been found that are identical to her pendant, and they may have been given out by the Frankfurt Jewish community to babies that were born in 1929 and 1930. Either way, though, the tragedy of Anne Frank is part of the reason I was able to reconnect with my family, and I feel so blessed.